And there we are, Tuesday evening after 2 weeks of absence. Here we're back with our lovely Kathy as our guest today. It is such a pleasure to have you today on the show. And welcome back, Kellyanne, as well.
Hi.
After 4 weeks of absence, doing your duty vaccinating.
I know.
We'll let you tell afterwards. We had to take another week out because Kellyanne was not doing too well. So, but you look good. You look good now, hon.
Despite the COVID.
Despite the COVID. Yeah, she did
Thanks,
it.
love.
She did it. Vaccinating other people to get it herself. How lovely is
Yeah.
that?
I mean, that's just karma, isn't it? Weeks in a vaccination centre, vaccinating the general public, and I get it.
Again,
It's great.
we will ask you later on what you do. I mean, I've already written a little bit in the announcement what you do because we liked your pitch that you did for the elevator pitch, the questions we asked you before, and we know from the Success Alliance. So I really want to go into the show as quickly as possible. So our little jingle comes now as well. Even we have a new entry, as you've probably seen already, about the little jingle, and that's going to put you in good mood now, Kathy, because I
Oh, I
think
love
everybody loves this jingle now. There we are, back.
Back in the room. Ooh.
And I always love that you can watch. I can watch the people in the green room as obviously I'm running the show. I can see you all in little videos, and it's always funny. I actually observe the people. Like we had Donna one day, and she was in the background. She was dancing around. I was like, I really love that. Again, Kathy, such a pleasure to have you. Where are you located right now? You're somewhere in the state central, I know, but where are you located?
I live just north of Houston, Texas.
All right, a Texan.
Yeah. And I'm not originally from here. I don't know that many are.
No, I don't think so either. So
Different states where people come and go, but I was originally from Ohio, so
Okay.
and then I lived in Michigan. I've lived in Virginia. I've lived in Texas. I've lived in Chicago. I've traveled quite a bit to your side of the pond, as it were.
yeah.
I spent a couple of years in route development between the Gulf of Mexico here in the North Sea. So I was back and forth across to a London base quite a bit for a couple of years. But yeah, but this is where I've called home now for a while. And it's rather nice to be able to go bike riding on Christmas Day, and you know,
Fair play.
I and but I miss the seasons. I have to say I do miss the beauty of the seasons. So I think that's why we have travel.
Exactly. You see that.
Yeah.
Visit the seasons. I don't have to live in them, right?
I like that.
I do like the season as well, but here in the, I mean, I grew up in San Francisco, but that's a different story because there you don't have the seasons either. I mean, like even when I lived in LA, it's like Christmas trees, and it was just like in 120s, and I was like, right, it's a bit awkward, isn't it? But you see, I don't. Here in the UK, you have more rain than anything else.
Yeah.
We didn't even have snow this Christmas, did we? Not at all. I think the last that's well was really like one day a bit like 5 minutes of snow, and that was it gone. Anyway, Kathy, what do you do? Well, I mean, we know each other from the Success Alliance of Bob Burke and the Go Giver Success Alliance. So obviously, you joined us recently as well. I am taking actually now 2 months out. That's a long story because now I'm finally getting a daycare center or a day clinic for my CPTSD trauma therapy. and I cannot attend any of the calls. And I said to Kathi as well, I said to her, say, listen, I take 2 months out time. And she said, yeah, no, focus on yourself. I understand that. But I really regret that already, because I love our weekly call. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Kathi.
Okay, well, I work in supply chain, and I have for probably about 30 years, which is like the most incredible industry you could work in, because it's industry agnostic. You serve them all. You work with high-tech companies, you work with automobile manufacturers, you work with pharmaceutical companies, you work with and you work from, I've done all over the world. I mean, I've done import, export, domestic, anything that's involved in the supply chain. And it gave me a very unique insight to how business works, because you really get into, when you're figuring out how to take raw materials in somewhere and finished goods out from there, you really start understanding how the business itself operates and works. And so that's what I've done, some aspect of that now for quite some time. But as I'm coming into my, I don't know, what do we call it, the third act? As I'm coming into that, I was looking for, how do I want to put all this business acumen to work? How do I want to transition this into something new and different? Because the supply chain industry itself is going through so many changes. And that's when I decided that I wanted to do something about helping businesses become more philanthropic, not by just writing checks, but by creating impact, so that they were actually focusing on specific impacts in the world. Think like Tom's shoes, where you buy a pair of shoes, a child gets a pair of shoes. Businesses that are actively integrating giving into their business model. I got really intrigued with that, watching several companies that were doing it. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun if that was your job, helping companies do that? Wouldn't that be a gratifying way to spend these next years of working to help people give, and do that at the business, for the business, like make that a business? Because I believe businesses have legacies just like people do.
Yes, they do.
Right? I mean, and today, let's face it, today it's harder to keep clients. It's harder to keep your key team members. It's hard to figure out how to future-proof your company. All these things are tough. But when you start mixing giving into that model, those challenges start dissipating. Because you know what? People want to stick with you when you're doing good, because they want to be part of it. They want to be part of the hero story. And when you give them an opportunity to do that with you, it's really incredible what can happen. And so that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm still working in supply chain. Although I don't know, it's probably be on my tombstone, but something else, empty nester, it's like, what do you do now? So I thought, you know what, I'm going to just start doing some business advisory work. And I put some masterminds together, call it Possibility Profits, where business owners can come together and say, what can we make possible? And it's fun. It's just incredible. And businesses that were getting a little dull, maybe getting a little bit of, they forgot even why they did it in the first place. Watching them come to life again, because there's this renewed sense of purpose, is it's an amazing thing to be a part of.
And that is such an amazing thing. And I know we had David Bryan as our guest as well. And you were very aligned with his mission, because he did exactly the same thing. He said, well, there's a better way to do things here. And I really liked the one sentence you just said, where you said, like, in giving, and that's why we are in the Go Giver Alliance, because people misunderstand this giving thing is actually, but what an amazing planet that could be, and how much we could advance on this planet if we all just give something and chip a little bit together, and don't only always get this profit focused on what we do. Because the profits are going to come. And we were just in the green room earlier. We were talking about me now doing ADHD coaching, which is kind of interesting. And I wanted to get back to you because you said like this, where people get put into boxes constantly, and and people, there's nothing wrong. So I can't even say the name and anything, but I was just very, somebody reached out to me, a mother said her son has ADHD, and one of the things why he didn't want to talk to a coach, and it had taken a very long to actually get him to that, because he said, I don't want to get fixed here, because nothing to fix here right there. And that is really, and it really resonated with me, because as I said, I don't even see that as a struggle. I see ADHD as my superpower, and I actually call it my superpower, because I can do things so much faster, more efficiently when I'm focused on it. Obviously, yes, there are struggles, but I don't need fixing. I just need the strategies how to do that. And while I'm doing that, I am helping other people to do the same thing. And I think that's what it all brings us all together here, is this resonating, where we're resonating together. It's like giving to other people. My practice, while I'm doing executive coaching, is anyway full, but now as I'm doing ADHD coaching, it's exploding. And I'm certainly not charging somebody for ADHD coaching the same price I'm going to charge an executive for 12 weeks incentives, right? They can as well afford it, because that's not a money issue there anymore. But I really like how you say is like, what can I do to make that better and actually bring them as well to the core value, why they did even do what they were doing. And I find a very good example here is Apple. I'm honest to you. It's like, I think they have completely lost the plot. Sorry, they're absolutely not aligned anymore with the idea that Steve Jobs had, is big slogan, thinking about it, doing things differently, think differently. And that I feel it has just become a commercial mumbo jumbo right now. Every 3 months or 6 months, we come a new iPhone and we throw it at the public, that we don't need, because the iPhone 1 is still working off, obviously. So it's like, I feel they don't even do anymore what they were saying. So I find it really interesting that you're doing that. What is your point on that, Kellyanne?
So actually, funnily enough, one of my favorite companies, I don't know if you've heard of it, they're called Honu, and they actually do, so they're looking at kind of conservation, that side of it, and a huge percentage of what they donate is to conservation for sea turtles. So all of their jewelry is like sterling silver jewelry. I've got loads of it. I absolutely love it. I haven't got any on today because, wasn't really feeling that fancy with the COVID, but like teeny tiny turtles, and I've got like starfishes and waves, and it's just beautiful jewelry. But they donate quite a lot of their profits to actually conservation for the sea turtles. So I think that little things like that, and I randomly stumbled across that company, but as soon as I saw that was their message, like for me, I was sold already on it.
But see, that's what I'm saying. People will flock to you. It's not even you have to convince them. It's the storification of it is important. You have to tell the impact story. You have to say, when you do business with us, this is what you make possible in the world. That's important.
Yeah.
It can't just be a footnote on the receipt of thank you for doing business with us. We planted a tree for you today. It can't be a post, right?
Absolutely.
It's got to be a story. It's got the storification has to be there. It's like there's two brothers, and they both have a hereditary vision, blind. They're going to be blind. They have an eye disease, and they could have really just started a nonprofit and go raise money, but this is what's distinctly different about this model. They don't sit and wait for donors to bring them money. They have an entrepreneurial mindset to say, what can I bring to the market that will bring money and attention to my issue? They flip the script, right? They are some of the most brilliant entrepreneurial minds out there. And their tagline is, we are in business to cure blindness.
Love it.
would not want to do business with them? Right? Who would not? So you know what they do? We invite you to shop blind. And you buy, the rage out there has for a while now has been get these boxes. Like they put these boxes together and somebody sends you a candle or
Yeah.
box or, there's a lot of the celebrities are doing this now. We'll send you the spring box or whatever. So they have this thing, you shop blind, but they send you a box. They have and everything about what they send you in terms of a product, the label is in Braille. And so they're constantly making you aware that you are making a difference for people that can't see. But my daughter has vision issues. So as soon as I saw we're in business to cure blindness, I'm like, sign me up, right? They didn't have to. So all of a sudden now people get surprise gifts for their birthday and it's shopping blind and they get this fantastic box and I'll have a t-shirt in it or have a hat in it or I'll have something in it. But we're introducing people to this idea of, would you shop blind? If you knew you were going to help someone be able to see, would you shop blind? Would you trust us to send you quality merchandise? Would you trust us to send you something good? And you know what? It's amazing. People sign up by the thousands, right? But their tagline, we're in business to cure blindness. There's another one out there. My sister works with CASA. I'm sure you have something similar over there, where people work with foster children. And we had a very idyllic upbringing. So we're very keenly aware of how blessed we were to have that. So we both have a heart for kids that are in foster care. And so there's a group here called Lavender Life, and they run a lavender farm in Michigan. They grow lavender, and then they have a little cottage industry there at the farm where they make products from the lavender. And they were deciding they wanted to do something more geared towards children, so they were designing this small stuffed rabbit that they could use cherry husks and lavender and do something for children. When their daughter took on a foster child, so their first grandchild was a foster child. And when their new grandson saw this little bunny, fell in love with it and latched onto it like it was his new dearest best friend, right? The little boy's name was Xander, and Xander the bunny was born. And that launched their whole new mission for their company, because now every time you buy a Xander bunny, they give a Xander bunny to a child in foster care.
Oh, amazing.
Oh, I love that.
Telling you, every child I know now has a Xander bunny. But I take it a step further and make sure every one of them knows there's another child in the world who has a Xander bunny because they got one. And so you're teaching the children, you're continuing to pay forward by teaching the children that we give to give. So I think just so much out there, so much possibility. It's just the creativity of this is mind-boggling when you think about it.
I find it really interesting because actually I was recently, Kathi knows, and I told you just now. So I got this Dalmatian puppy 4 weeks ago, right? This little tornado, right? So, so she's being trained. So because the idea was that the disability services here in the UK, in their assessment, thought that I need an assistant dog because I have since about a year and a half, there's a childhood trauma that I'm very open about. My parents abused me. I didn't even know. I mean, I walked around the world for 49 years without even knowing that I had it. But anyway, it came out, pandemic happened, anything. So I do dissociate outside with people. So when I just zonk out. I just stand there and don't move, right? So obviously they said, I think for safety reasons, it would be good to give you an assistant dog. So here you go. Then I went to the charity that was doing the assistant dog and they said, yeah, well, we can give you one in October 23. And I said, so until October 23, I zoom out in the middle of the supermarket, right? So good. Anyway, they said, well, we have another option here. You can get the puppy and then we do have a training program, which is a daily video training program. And you just follow the video program and you train herself. And I said, okay, fair enough, I'll do that, And I had Dalmatians before, so I didn't. My last one died, I think it was like almost 15 years, fruits in. When he died, I had to put him down because he got cancer, and I said I'm not going to make him suffer. So, and then after that, when I moved to the UK, I said I'm not going to have anyone. But anyway, long story short here, so I got her. And then she was having a bit issue with eating. She didn't want to eat anymore. So I got back to the vet and everything. Day 3, she stopped eating, refusing her food completely. So I went to and looked. So raw food, anyway, for Dalmatians, special with their urine stones and everything. So I was looking for raw food, and I came across this butternut box. Butternut box basically slow cooks food, human grade ingredients with vegetables, meat, and everything, and they slow cook it for hours and put it in a pouch, and it's really great food. She loves it, right? But what really impressed me with the company is that for every purchase you do with us, she gets a 28-day pack. It's all cooked, goes in the freezer. I defrosted one a day. They will give one back for families and dogs that they cannot afford it. So every purchase I do for her, they will actually offer that to somebody else. Yeah. And then I came across Pets Home here in the UK. They actually donating every pound I spend. They donate £1 to dog treatment systems and everything. And I said, what a great way to do that. And they're not even making a big story about it. It's just a sideline somewhere on their thing that they say, oh, well, we're doing that. And I really like that because they actually they're cutting their profit in half that way already. And then they actually have to look at the profit.
But they really aren't. I'm going to tell you something. They really aren't. And I'll tell you why. It takes a lot of money today to get a customer.
Yes.
Right? So when you have a lot of customer turnover, that costs you dearly in your profits.
Yeah.
When people are doing business with you and you are doing good in the world, guess what? They don't leave you.
No.
You don't have to spend more money to try to get replacement customers. So the truth, it's not cutting into their profits. It's actually increasing their profits because they don't have to spend as much replacing you because you don't stay. Right? So when you look at the overall business, when you look at the overall bottom line of what happens, and you look at a company who's doing things like this, and you look at a company who's not, even though it looks like at first you think, well, they can't possibly have the same profit margins. They can't possibly be operating at the same level. Their profits are actually, at the end of the day, higher.
Yeah, because people say
because they retain clients, people want to do business with them, and then people want to refer business to them. So think about how much money you have to spend in advertising. Now, what if your client base becomes your sales force?
Yes.
Simply because you're doing good in the world, right? It's amazing, though, because we don't equate that, right? We don't stop to think about, well, it's going to help here, it's going to help here, it's going to help here. But it's amazing to me when you look at the true analysis and say, here are these companies, here are these companies. These companies give and they storification, they understand it, they're coming to the world, they're engaging the world, they're saying, come be a part of this marvelous thing that's going on with us. We're just so amazed with it. And then these people over here that are saying, come buy my stuff, right?
Yeah.
The people that are over here saying, come buy my stuff, have to spend a whole lot of money to get you to buy their stuff.
Yeah.
The people over here have to spend very little to get you to buy their stuff. So at the end of the day, their bottom line is healthier. And they're more future-proofed because people just don't leave you.
Yeah, especially with Butternut's box there, where I thought was really funny because they tell their story. So basically, what they had a dog that had all kind of allergies and everything, and they looked into it. And I actually saw, that's how I even got into it, because I saw then it's called what is it called? Dog Fooled, the documentary, where they show you the 5 main companies. One of them is actually Mars, which sits right next to me here. They have their headquarters here in the UK sitting there. So they actually produce it, and then they showed what is actually in. You can buy all different brands, but they actually coming from 5 big producers. And
Right.
I mean, it was disgusting what's in this dog food. When I saw what they were doing, and I said, this is really ridiculous. So they went then in their house, they cooked for their dog. They actually healed their dog by just giving him good ingredients. They started just in the pandemic, and this is already a huge company, huge success. But then here comes, that's what you said, I'm actually their billboard already, because what did I do? I got the boxes. They had a really nice bandana with it as a present for her. So, you know, she got her pictures with the bandana. I did that on that one. Then I got a link basically saying, okay, give this link to other people. They pay, we take the first 3 boxes, we take 50% off. And every time somebody signs up, we'll give you 50% off as well. On top of what they're doing anyway to feed other dogs, right? Sure. And then 2 days later, I get a phone call saying, so now has she started eating it? And I said, yeah, she has. How is it? Is there anything we could do better? Is something she doesn't like? Tell us, we'll exchange it. And then the next day, they've taken a picture from my Facebook of Mimi the dog and made a postcard with a picture of the dog and sent that in the mail to me. They have me for life, and she loves the food anyway. She's really happy.
You just shared a classic story of how this works, of how this starts to happen, right? And just think about the challenges that are in the world today, and you just need one or two brilliant ideas around each one of those problems to say, how can we make a dent in that? How do you move the needle, right?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what kind of like stopped me in my tracks was I heard a statistic that only 5% of philanthropic giving today comes from companies. It comes from foundations. It comes from wealthy individuals. Companies weren't engaging. And I thought, okay, we're never going to climb this mountain until we get businesses involved.
Yeah.
Until we get, because you know what? The brilliance of the minds in business, they're problem solvers, right? That's what we do, right?
Yeah.
You know, how do we make it better? And so if we can engage business, and then Richard Branson came out and went and spoke to the UN, and he started a campaign of doing good is good business. And now all of a sudden this number starts creeping up, right? The number starts creeping up because people are like, ooh, I didn't even think of that. Oh, wow. How cool is that? Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get to work tomorrow to see what we're going to come up with, to see what we're going to do. I operate from the philosophy of how I define resilience, because in today's world, I think resilience is probably one of the most important skills you can have, right?
Yes.
But here's how I describe resilience. Everything makes something else possible. So what am I doing in my business today, and what can that make possible? And when you stop and sit back and say, oh, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. One company in their giving back program is 100% about volunteer hours for their employees. Every time something good happens, they deposit hours into their volunteer program for their employees. So if you work for them and there's a cause you believe in, you get to take time off to go work for your cause, and you're paid by your employer. They foot the bill for that, for you to go do that work. And you think, okay, well, that's not really that big of a deal. It is a huge deal.
It is. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It is a huge deal at a time when people are leaving jobs in droves, but now they have their favorite charity. They have their favorite thing that's a local deal, and working for you is what makes it possible for them to work for them. They're not leaving.
No.
You don't have the turnover problem, because turnover is just as much of a problem with our staff as it is with our clients, right?
Yeah.
Now here's this whole other way that shows up. I always tell, when I start working with a company, the first thing we have to do is figure out, what do you care about? Because there are like a gazillion things out there you could care about, right? So we have to really narrow it down to say, what's your spark? To use your word, what sparks you? What why did you start doing this? What did you care about? Everybody has a reason for why they started a business, right? But things change. So but what sparks you? And it's generally going to come from one of three places. It's either going to be some segment of the population. I care about, whatever, kids or whatever. I care about, the elderly or the disabled. There's a portion of the population that they care about. Or it's animals, right? They care about something to do with animals, or it's the environment. They're keenly aware of something in the environment. They care about the lack of clean water for people. They're very keen on the environment. Well, once you know what they care about, and the best way to find that out is to say, what makes you angry? Because what makes you angry is somebody stepped on a value. So that's what's important to you, right? So you find out what they care about, and then you say, okay, what is within your purview to contribute there? Is that food? Is that making food available? Is that making labor available through an employee giving back volunteer hours? What makes that possible? What could you do? What within your sphere of influence is there? And it becomes almost, I don't want to say, ridiculously easy to just all of a sudden you look up one day and you think, oh my gosh, 900 people ate last month because of what we did. It no longer the amount of money, right? You didn't say, oh, I gave, $3,000 to charity. No, you're not even thinking like that anymore. You're thinking about how many people got to eat this week, because, how many animals got shelter, how many children at risk got books or got protection or got clean water. You're thinking in terms now of impact. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
That is, this is why we call it, you see, you're talking out of Kellyanne's and my heart here, because this is so funny. What little thing you can do, how can you impact other people and sparkle your magic impact to people? What can you do? It's so easy to do that. And it's just like, you made a really good point with feeding people. It drives me insane when I see that supermarkets around the world, not only here, and I know around the world, I've seen it in Germany, I've seen it in the States, just because it's best before, not even expired, best before, it goes into the rubbish, into container bins. How many people can you actually feed with that are having no money, are homeless, whatever? If you would just look at that. And it drives me insane, because you see, I worked for many years as airline crew. The amount of food we, after flight, threw, and it goes in the containers and it goes out, and the catering just throws it out. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this food. It's still in the frozen box. We haven't put it in the oven. We didn't even use it because so many passengers didn't want to eat it. And I mean, this is like, gosh, I mean, if a crew member can eat it after 3 hours of service, then there's nothing wrong with the food, right? So why do we throw it? This is such a waste. And if the companies would just rethink, and I said, yeah, well, but with legal requirements, bloody, it's ridiculous. It's not even expired. It's just, how it's now best before. Well, best before is past. Great. There's nothing wrong with the bag of crisps because it's over one day. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the salad that is out of date because it's not best before.
Sniff it.
I suspect if we went into our own kitchens and pantries and fridges and looked at the best before dates, we'd find we're consuming a lot of food that's well past
100%.
before, right?
But it doesn't, I know for me, it doesn't bother me. You know, I've got 3 boys at home. Oh my God, they can eat. And to me, I'm like, just smell it. If it smells all right, crack on. You're not going to die.
Milk. If the milk's off, you'll know.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what we say. It doesn't need to be, we could say, well, you know, if
There's
it's
better ways.
it's perished, but because when it's the best before day, why, and actually give it to charity or give it to service, and they will evaluate it. They can have a medical sitting there and testing if that's what you're worried about. But why you throw it in the dumpsters? It drives me insane. It literally. And then what happens, and you know, and everybody knows, then homeless people go into the dumpsters and pick it out. So they're still getting it. So why do you make them go into the dumpster? Why can you not rethink? And I agree. Big brands like Walmart, I have seen Walmart, how much food goes in the containers in the back. And they're compressing it, which is like, now you're destroying it, which is healthy food. And you talking, you in the supply chain, you know, we are killing thousands of animals for our feeding, but then tons of it just goes into the rubbish bin because it's not good anymore. It's best before it's past, which is ridiculous. We're horrible, actually.
There's a better way. But here's the thing. And this is my personal belief. It's not anything other than my personal belief. If we're waiting on the government to solve it, it's not going to get solved. We have to step up as citizens and as businesses and solve these problems. If I'm a business owner and I see that I have that waste in my process, I need to fix that. I'm the owner of the business, and it's within my purview to do something about that. Whether it's to donate to a soup kitchen or to send it home. You know, we used to would have situations where people would bring. This is a small example, but suppliers would come and call on you, right? And they would come call on your company. And what do they bring? They bring food, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we do, right? So they'll bring in a tray of sandwiches. They'll bring, you know, here in Texas, they bring in things of enchiladas and tacos and, you know, or they'll bring boxes and boxes of donuts or whatever. They bring food. Because why do they do that? Well, because they want you to pick them. So they bring it to your people. So the next time they have a choice of which company to use, they're like, oh, that, you know, that's that sales guy that brings us donuts every Friday. And so, you know what, they're going to pick up the phone. They're going to call the donut guy to do the deal because he brings the donuts every Friday, right? But hardly ever does all that food get eaten. But here's the other side of it. So now the day shift is getting ready to leave. And so they're cleaning up the community area, the kitchens or whatever. And they're thinking we're going to throw this away. In the meantime, there's a night shift. Nobody ever brings food to the night shift, right? Because people don't make sales calls at night.
No, they don't.
Right. So we put in a deal that said after lunch, we didn't wait till the end of the day to clean up the kitchen. We cleaned up the kitchen after lunch. We put all the food away so it was properly stored, and we left it there for the night shift. And now the night shift gets to participate, right? And now by morning, there's literally no food because those guys on the night shift, it's like, oh my gosh, right? So now there's really, truly no food. But somebody had to think about that, right? Somebody had to say, how do we stop throwing this food away? And then somebody had to be brave enough in the meeting to say, well, what about the night shift? Right? This is such a small micro example of what I'm talking about. But it is conversation can solve problems.
Yes.
And if you come at something to say, how do I stop? How do I stop throwing this away? How do I make it possible to not throw this away? How could I turn this into a benefit? What does this make possible? Right? And then all of a sudden, people start sparking ideas, right? And people start thinking, oh, okay, you know, one of my favorite stories that when we talk about food is the story of, I'm sure you guys know Tony Robbins. You've heard of Tony Robbins, right?
I'm a platinum member, so.
Mr. Tony, right? So he grew up his family wasn't affluent. They didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. His life was changed because a stranger brought a Thanksgiving meal to his family.
Yes.
And that's the only reason they had a Thanksgiving meal. Now, just think about this for a moment. The person who brought them that meal, do you think they thought, oh, I'm going to take them this meal so that this child can grow up to be Tony Robbins and feed millions? No, they didn't. They were just doing what they did out of the kindness of their heart because that was the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Right. But here's the miracle of that story. When you help a stranger, you could just as easily be helping the next Tony Robbins.
Yes.
You don't know.
Mm.
It's not our job to predict where the gift will take them. It's our job to show up with the gift. Mm-hmm. Everything else is beyond us, right?
Yes.
But isn't that amazing when you stop and think about that? If I made this possible for this person, I might have just launched a dream in someone that's going to one day do things, it's called planting trees under whose shade you'll never sit, right? Mm. But that to me is the miracle of giving.
And it's funny you're saying that.
And so I just think it's like there will be, for you, the work that you're doing with ADHD, even the things you're doing now with the animal shelters and the things that you're doing with your newest family member there, all of these things that are happening, right?
I have to move her because she's lying here and she's grumbling already. Here you go.
Of course she is.
Here she is. She is the animal. Oh, look. Come on.
Oh, she's adorable.
Look at that sweet face. All of that, you don't know what you just don't know what the impact, the long-term impact can be. What you can know is that it will be, right? And that's what I tell people all the time. You don't need to worry about what your purpose is. You just need to accept the fact that you have one.
We had it here, didn't we? So I don't know whether you know much about the footballer Marcus Rashford. So he is quite a young footballer over here in the UK, and he had a very poor upbringing, very poor. I think they used food banks quite a lot, his family and stuff. And throughout COVID, as such a young man in his early 20s, that was kind of his crusade, is to get like young kids fed and to make sure that all these children that weren't in school were actually getting like decent food every day. And like you say, without how would he have grown up with that belief, that he could do these things and he could become this like huge footballer and have this massive impact in the world at such a young age? It's like you say, it is paying it forward. And I bet he's got some interesting stories from his childhood as to how that kind of came about from being so poor. But it's it is incredible what people can actually do when they actually care about something.
You have to disrupt the story, right? Instead of, because we keep hearing how we keep recycling violence and we keep recycling what happens and abuse people and all of that. That does not have to stay true, right? We can change the script. We can flip the script. We can change the story. And kindness and love and generosity and just love, you can't fight it. The power of it, you can't fight it. But I just am such an advocate of don't worry about how much you can do. Just do what you can. And you're just going to be amazed at how much more it is than you thought.
Yeah, it's like, see, I don't know if I even told Kellyanne the story. I think you have. So many years back, oh my God, almost 20 years now, I was in Burma for Orient Express. So I was running Orient Express operation in Asia, and I went to Burma because Orient Express had this Rhine River cruiser they put into Burma, and then the hurricane happened there, and the boat got damaged, and they rebuilt the boat while they were able to fix it anyway. So you have this luxury boat there. So when I walked on board this boat, one of the staff member of this Burmese boy there, 25 years old, could hardly speak English. Anyway, they didn't speak English. And I saw how gifted he was. And I thought he was in pastry. He was doing pastry on board this boat. And he was the first crew member on this entire boat that, well, I know the big cheese comes on to inspect the boat, right? And he had this huge smile, and then he showed me, he said, "Sir, you want croissant?" And I was really, and it was, and you see, I trained at Cordon Bleu, so I do have, I know exactly what a great croissant needs to be. And I thought he was really gifted. And I thought he was a bit wasted there as well on the pastry, because I thought he could have done more. So eventually what I did, I sent him to the Cordon Bleu schools in Bangkok, because Cordon Bleu has a school in Bangkok as well. Don't have to tell you, it's over $25,000 for the full course to actually get the grand diploma, but I paid for it. And I sent him back to Burma. I consider Toto as my little brother, and we're really so close friends after so many years. But how, just look at it, and I realized that just this year, he is, since a couple of years already, executive chef. He has trained so many Burmese boys and girls as well to become very high standard chefs now. And it doesn't matter what I paid for it, but I have impacted properly thousands of people already over the time in Burma, which when I got to Burma, it's now again, but at that time it was, Aung San Suu Kyi was still in the prison. It was still military regime. It was really tough there. And I saw how they were living in bamboo huts and were still happy people. And I thought, and that will really strike me when I was like, I had my offices in Bangkok, so I lived in Bangkok most of the time. But then when I came to Burma, I saw the real Buddhism anyway, because they had nothing. They actually had nothing, but the children were happy. They were way more happy than we were, because we have everything and we complain constantly. And that did strike me while I was in Burma over the time there. But what I actually thought was really, as you said, I just did something. I wanted to help him, but I didn't even think about the ripple effect that it will have. And now it does. It's really incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you just never know where it will go. You just don't. Yeah. You just have to trust that you do your part, right? Yeah. Whatever link in the chain you are, make sure your link isn't the one that breaks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and keep the chain moving. And but anyway, I could talk about this kind of stuff for hours, because it's just, to me, it's like, how do we make that shift for people to help them understand that it's never been more important. But here's the flip side of that. It's never been easier, because technology has made it so accessible and so easy and so affordable and so practical and so everything, right? So when people say, well, I don't do that because I don't even have a clue how to get started. Okay, I got a plan for that. I got 5-step plan. You ready? Right? Or they say, I don't have any time for that. Okay, well, we can automate all of this. It doesn't have to take any time. You ready? Or they say, well, I don't have any money for that. Of course you do. Of course you do. We're not talking millions of dollars here. We don't even have to talk dollars. We can do things for pennies. You ready? Right? Or they say, well, I don't know. I don't even know who to trust. Do you trust you? Well, yeah, I trust me. Okay, you ready? You just knock down all the excuses and say, are you ready? Because if you're ready, there's a way. And that's where I step in to say, let's find your way. Let's find your story. Let's write your giving story. And then let's let your giving story just change the world, So, my motto is, I'm changing the world one giving story at a time. And I think that's what we all do, right? I mean, you guys are doing that here with this show. I mean, it's just like, you're bringing messages that Otherwise, nobody would hear if you didn't do this.
Yeah,
We don't know who listens to the show. You know, I mean, you don't know what they do with what they take from the show, right? I mean, you had another gal from the Success Alliance on, I think on here with you. Was it Lisa?
Yes, Lisa Wilbur. Oh God, yeah, Karen wasn't there, unfortunately. But you see, like with you, I think we need to bring you back again because this is.
I was just like with Lisa. I didn't know her.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know anything about her. I didn't know she was Avon. I didn't know she was Senda. I didn't know anything about her. Right. I just went on the mastermind group. I just went into the deal and she was there. And she sent me just this little text and said, could I have your address?
Did you get a postcard? I got one today again.
Okay, I'll give you my address, right? Because we had been, I think we had talked about maybe our word of the year or something. And I said my word of the year for 2022 was story. And I didn't think anything about it. I just said, okay, whatever. You know, I just answered a question and I was like, okay. So not much long after that, I go get my mail.
Oh, I love that.
She had made this card for me. And she says, thought you might like your 2022 word on a card so that you can carry it with you and see it often. Hope your word inspires you to have a great year.
That's amazing.
I've won, and this is I got today from her. This I got a couple of days ago. And I have another one in my car that she sent to me. She had me already 3 cards. And she said, you keep posting these pictures, you will get the cards. And it's like every time she lights up my day. It's like I got this mail this morning and I said, oh my God, she took a picture again. It's like
this card sits right here. And it's like sits right at the bottom of my computer every day. I sit down. When I look down from my monitor, what I see is this magical book opening up to story. And it reminds me that's my word for this year is story. Whose story am I telling today? And she doesn't know that's what she did. She was just reaching out to a fellow member doing something thoughtful. But one day I'll see that and I'll write a story that somebody will read and it will change their life and they will go on to change more lives. This card can create a ripple. And that is really my point to everybody. Don't ever underestimate the power of small. Because it's amazing how the teeniest, tiniest little thing can spark, right? I mean, I'm borrowing your word, but it's true.
No, that's okay.
Right? But it's true, you know. So anyway, I know you have a time frame for this, so I don't want to get you up.
No, we not. Don't we can even go 5-10 minutes over. That's not the problem here. Anyway, after the show, we ask you to stay on for a couple of minutes as well because we will end then the live show and then we continue like normally like that. Because as I said, and I think Kellyanne will agree with me, this is such
a joy.
I knew it was going to be an amazing conversation when I read your elevator pitch already and what you said. It's like I'm an open book anyway. And I was so excited to have you today because people like you, and I think the same that we do, and it's kind of funny, we have a very similar motto, Kelly and I would say. We actually say, changing the Joes of the world every day. That's what we're doing. And actually, and it's really what we think we need to get people to wake up. I'm very sorry to say it. Wake up and get out of your snooze. Stop your snooze button now and just wake up and see how simple you can actually, when being giving to other people, how simple you can create a ripple effect and change the world. And I love you saying your story, Kathy. And I say, see, Lisa picks up these things. She knows how much Sparkle, my little pure body there, here that's sitting there, how much she means to me. So she watches my Facebook post and then she picks a picture and sends me this card. And every time I'm in tears, she actually touches me every time. It's like, it's an emotion because, you know, my animal is like, for me, like family. It's like my baby. So it's like, it really touches me. But I mean, beside of that, how Lisa does that in general without any thought, without any afterthought behind it. She actually said, and I asked her on the show as well, the only question she asks herself, would this person like the card? Yes or no? It's not what comes out of it. It's completely selfless. And she said,
right? I mean, it's just that true generosity of spirit and that true servant's heart to say, how can I serve you today?
Yes.
And it's just, and you can tell from her. And like I said, I don't know her. I can't, I truly don't. I've never had a one-on-one conversation with her.
You have to. Because
when I watch her interact, even in the group, and I watch her facial expressions and I watch the way she responds to people, it's so genuine.
Yes.
Her engagement with people is so genuine. And you think, even though it's not somebody you know yet, it's somebody you want to know.
Yes.
And that over time you will know. I always say it's just, I just finished writing a few articles on the unknown blessings on their way. And nobody comes into your life by accident. So you think, okay, I'm just going to keep showing up and they're going to keep showing up. And before you know it, you're going to show up together and you're going to find out, you're going to have great conversations like this one. And you're going to inspire each other to keep on keeping on. And other people are going to hear these conversations. And it's going to inspire them to have conversations with other people. And that's how it happens.
Absolutely.
And it's wonderful, I think.
But Kathi, let me ask you, because we would like to return as well too. How can we service you?
Well, I think just keeping the topic and the idea alive, which you guys are already doing just by how you do it. But the more we all talk about it, the more people are receptive to it. I think that's an amazing thing to have happen. And when I get a little further along and I get the book written, and because I'm writing a book right now that is kind of along the lines of the Go-Giver, other than, in that it's a parable. But I'm writing right now about this kind of thing. I'm writing a parable about a guy who owns a company and things are not going in the right direction, and it gets turned around when he begins to give. And so I'm excited about it. I'm working on it. The draft was when the book is closer and where it looks like we're thinking about getting that out there. I'd love to come back and share with you about the book, and maybe you can help me with the book. Yeah.
Please, because I think the world needs people like you. They really do. As you said, it's your third little way. Yeah, exactly. Don't worry. I hope you're gonna have number 4 and 5 and 6 actually keep going. Keep that, because honestly, you just blew my mind today again, and I'm sure Kellyanne will agree with me.
Oh, it's been brilliant. So good.
I've
enjoyed this. I'm just beginning to get out and start talking about all of this because it's, but I fallen in love with that group. I haven't met anybody in that group yet that I didn't, really found that they're so interesting. But I'm just going out and signing up for things and signing up for conversations to say, let's talk about this and let's see how we can get the world talking about this.
Yeah, and I think this is what it is. As you said, one little thing can impact so many people. That's why I always say, because people like say, oh, well, how many people are live when you do the show? And I said, it doesn't matter, because I know that people will see it in the replay on LinkedIn because it's late in the evening right now. People will not even see it right now, but they will see it tomorrow. And there are so many CEOs in my network. One of them, I just watched this and he says, holy cow, that's why I have your name and your web address going as well. We'll reach out to you. And he said, like, hey, you have been in London. I'm sitting here in London. I have a mega company here. I want to do something. So, and I think that is what it's all about, because you just might ignite their sparkle by just talking about it.
There's unknown blessings on their way.
That's what it is. What you put in the universe gets back to you. I
Yeah.
tell you,
Always.
it comes around. And it's really, as I say, you can put negative things out there, but you can as well to put positive things out there. And I made a commitment, Kellyanne, and we just want to make this place a better place for everybody. Without what do we get out of it? We trust, there's something coming out of us. Of course, we benefit from it as well, but that's not actually our focus anyway, because we trust, as Bob says, we trust that it's coming back. That's your fifth law. It's going to come back to you. Just trust in it anyway. So that's how I go in everyday business. When I do, as I said earlier, I'm not going to charge a boy for ADHD coaching the same price I'm going to charge a CEO. So obviously somebody told me when I did my coaching certification, I'm just that week before we end the show, said to me, never discount coaching. All right, I get that, and I stick with that with my CEOs. I'm never discounting. I'm not arguing the price here. Because I always ask my customers, so when I fix your problem, how much value do you put to it? And they say, oh, that would be priceless. And I said, so if I charge you $25,000, that is actually cheap, isn't it? Right. So that's how I go, basically. But to get him see from the perspective, but I wouldn't do that to whatever mother that has a child with ADHD where I can really help. Well, if I can give the coaching for $250 for 4 months, well, then I do it. But I do it because I want to help. I want to do. Obviously, I need to cover my cost. That's what I do. I'm trying to cover my cost. But beside of that, I think like, why not do it? And I even do a lot of coaching. I've just given some of the Success Alliance partners where I've given them 2 months free coaching. I said, here you go. This is what it is. Do it. I don't even want to. Yeah, but what did I pay for you? I don't care. If at the end of the 2 months coaching, I have helped you and you think you want to continue, then let's talk about what I'm going to charge for it. But first of all, let's do it. And everybody gets surprised about it. That really shocked me because they're Success Alliance people and they're go-givers. And when I said that, and they said, so what's the catch? And I said, no.
Yeah, I mean, when you stop and think about it, it's your own sort of personal scholarship program, right?
Yes.
You have all these other people that are able to pay you. You do expect to be paid, but that enables you to have this quasi scholarship program to help others, right? Yeah. It's no different than scholarships that enable people to go to school, right? Those scholarship programs are funded by alumni and other people that, are now in a position to help. So your clients, your paying clients, your full paying clients make it possible for you to do that. And so that's a good thing, right? Yeah. And I'm not saying you wouldn't do it anyway. I'm just saying it's how everything fits together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How everything fits together, right? And I think it's marvelous. So anyway.
Kathi, it was such
you were back for today. I wasn't sure if we would have you back or not. I was like, I'm
back. Oh, it's been lovely though. I'm so glad to be back as well. It's lovely to meet you as well.
Yeah.
So good.
It was really great. And, as I said, anybody that sees it in the replay, please reach out to Kathi if she can assist you on how impacting the world the right way. And if you're thinking about what can your company do, she's your girl. She's your gal. She will do it for you. So thanks. It was such a pleasure. Kathi, just stay online and we'll see you next week. I think we're going to be alone, Kellyanne, but that's good as well. We got to catch up. We're going to catch up on a few days. So it was a pleasure. So thank you very much and have a great evening.